During the maintenance stage, when your room's clean and you're maintaining it over the next few weeks, you might kind of vacuum around stuff, but this is a deep clean. I'm Ronnie, and you're listening to Clean With Me, the podcast where I talk you through cleaning your house. When you clean along with this show, you'll get more done in less time so you can spend the rest of your day doing what matters most to you. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, I'm going to talk you through cleaning your bedroom. I have recently received requests from teenagers and even preteens asking me to gear episodes toward them. So I'm going to do just that, but some of us are still battling with our inner teenager and struggling to keep our bedroom clean. So anyone who's responsible for keeping their own room clean can benefit from this episode. But that having been said, I am going to touch on some issues that are specific to teenagers. It's time to gear up for your cleaning session. You might want to freshen up a little bit, change into something comfortable but presentable, maybe run a brush through your hair, wash your face, put on a little makeup, whatever your minimums are that make you feel ready for anything, because when you look good, you feel good. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to gear up for your cleaning session. And another thing I want you to do during this introduction is grab a large trash bag. Even if you don't think you have a lot of trash in your room, we are going to be going into your closet. We're going to be checking under your bed. And you'd be surprised how much trash you'll find when you deep clean your room. For the parents of teenagers who are listening, I'll just say that for a lot of us, it's been a long time since we were teenagers. And I think it's human nature to tell yourself that your life is harder than that of other people. So sometimes parents will think, I don't understand why my kid can't keep their room clean. I have to do so many different things. I'm responsible for the whole house, or I have a job, or I've got kids and a husband to think of. And, they just have school and cleaning their room and their social life. But being a teenager is hard. You're new to doing life. Some of us who are adults often let our rooms get out of control during busy seasons of life, like that inner teenager comes out who just doesn't want to clean her room. But that having been said, both those of you who are teenagers and those of you who are adults might have a mom who keeps her bedroom perpetually clean, because it is possible. I am on a winning streak of keeping my room clean right now. And that's simply because it's easier to keep up than to catch up. And when I get my room clean, I try to maintain it as long as possible. So not only am I going to talk you through cleaning your room in this episode, I'm going to try to equip you with the tools to keep it clean for a while, okay? Because there is a way to maintain it. And that's not to say that it's never going to get messy again, but I want to help you get your room clean and then get on a long streak of keeping it clean. And then when you mess up and your room gets out of control again, you can go back to this episode and kind of hit the reset button and get it clean again and then keep it clean. So hopefully by now you're ready for the day and you have that large trash bag. I want you to first look around and throw away any trash that is visible. Okay, because I realize there might be some trash in your closet. My son is 13 and I had been praising him for keeping his room clean. And then I went into his closet to look for something and I found a trash bag full of things like empty water bottles. I am pleased that he threw them away, but I was a little puzzled as to why he hadn't taken that trash bag outside and put it in the outdoor trash. I mean, it was no big deal. I was just like, is this trash? Because if it is, I'm going to take it outside and it looks like it's trash. But something important when cleaning your room is not to go too deep too soon. I don't want you to start pulling things out from under your bed and cleaning out your closet just yet. Okay. And that's because you build momentum by removing visual clutter. And if you run out of time, something comes up, you need to leave or you get sidetracked, you want your room to look better than when you started. So you don't want to just create a mess right off the bat. And I feel like some of us are more excited about long-term changes than everyday maintenance, because when I go into my room to clean it, I often want to clean out my drawers and clean out my closet. And I start with those things. And then at the end of that session, maybe it's time for me to give somebody a ride somewhere or start dinner. My room still looks messy. So I don't want you to end up in that situation. We're going to clean in order of priority. And seeing a clean room is going to get you excited about going deeper with your cleaning. I realize that you might have too much stuff and that you want to declutter, but right now we're just throwing away any surface trash. We're not going to take that trash bag outside because, of course, you're going to find more trash when you go through your closet or under your bed. Some of you might need a second trash bag. If you've already found a lot of surface trash on your nightstands or even on your floor, and the bag's filling up, no judgment here, grab a second bag, okay? I think you're more likely to need 2 bags if you're an adult, because sometimes our bedrooms become a catch-all when we're responsible for keeping an entire house clean. As a teenager, you might only have 1 bag or less worth of trash in your room. But whatever you need, just make sure you have enough trash bags handy. Okay, I'm going to give you about 1 more minute to pick up the trash. And there might be some dirty dishes on the nightstand or elsewhere. We're going to get to those, but right now we're focusing on trash. By the way, I realize that if you're a teenager or a preteen, you might not be able to subscribe to the bonus episodes. That's why I made this episode free. But this next part is for the adults who are able to click subscribe and unlock longer, more personal episodes. If these free episodes are helping you to be more productive around the house, just think how much you could accomplish by unlocking the subscriber-only bonus episodes. I often get more personal in those episodes and you get to know me a little better. And sometimes I even put on a headset and actually take you with me as I clean my own house, and you get to hear me cleaning in real time. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, the option to unlock the Clean With Me Unplugged episodes is probably already being advertised to you. Same thing if you're listening on Spotify. Another way to access the bonus episodes is by joining my Patreon and becoming one of my patrons. You can also visit cleanwithmepodcast.com for more information, or simply click on one of the links in the episode description. Okay, by now you've filled that trash bag or partially filled that trash bag with any surface trash. I don't know if you had fast food containers or some old homework papers. Who knows what was lurking, but you threw away that obvious trash. The next thing I want you to do is take any dirty dishes to the kitchen. For you teenagers and preteens, I don't want you to burden your parent by piling a bunch of crusty dishes in the sink or next to the sink. So not only are you going to clear those dishes and get them to the kitchen, but you're going to pre-rinse them and get them soaking, okay? You want to grab a scrub brush or an abrasive sponge and rinse those items under running water, but I realize there might be some dried on food or liquid in those containers. Your cups, your bowls, your silverware might be crusty. I want you to pre-rinse them as best as you can, and then I want you to get them submerged, get them soaking, and then once your room is clean, you can go out there and finish washing those dishes. And if your room is in total disarray, you might have dirty forks or spoons on the floor. Like if you're eating in bed, maybe you've dropped a spoon or a fork beside the nightstand or behind the nightstand. So I want you to be vigilant. Even though we're not pulling out everything from under your bed yet, look behind your headboard, around your bed, make sure that you get all that dirty silverware And inevitably, you might come across something later that should have gone into the trash bag or should have gone to the kitchen. That's okay, but just do your best to get all of those dishes to the kitchen and get them pre-rinsed and soaking. Once you get that done, the next thing you're going to do is strip your bedding and wash it. Okay? If your room smells kind of funky, it could be that you're not washing your bedding often enough. And sometimes young people struggle more with body odors and things than older people. Not just that, but having a clean pillowcase is good for the complexion, it's good for the hair. And some of you might be struggling with acne, whether you're a teenager or a young adult. You need to wash your pillowcase every week. So let's get your bed stripped and get your sheets and pillowcases washing. Maybe you also need to wash your comforter, especially if you keep it right against your skin. Okay, if you always have a top sheet on and that comforter's barely touching you and there's not like a dog or cat that hangs out on top of it, it might not need to be washed as often. But if you're sleeping directly under your comforter or you have pets, it should be getting washed once a week as well. Okay, so you might want to start that first load of laundry, and maybe you have replacement bedding. Maybe you can go to your linen closet and put some fresh sheets on. Maybe you have a backup comforter, or maybe you're going to just leave a bare mattress while your bedding is washing. That's okay too. Everybody does things differently. I have backup bedding, but often I just wash my bedding and put the same stuff back on because that's my favorite stuff. My favorite sheets, pillowcases, and comforter are what I want to put back on. But of course, if I end up washing the bedding late at night, that's where the backup bedding comes in. But whether you're putting fresh stuff back on or you're just going to leave the bare mattress for a while, let's get that bedding washing. It's going to make your room smell better, and it's going to keep you cleaner when you get into clean bedding each night. Ideally, you're going to be washing all of your bedding every week, especially the sheets and pillowcases, but don't go over 2 weeks. Please, please do not go over 2 weeks. I realize you're busy, but do not go over 2 weeks. And if you're an adult, forgive me for talking to you as if you were a teenager. I wanted to have an episode for the teens, and maybe you're a mom of teens. This would be a good episode to pass on to your kids. At this point, your bedding is stripped. You've probably got that washing machine going. The dishes are out of your room. The trash is in the bag. Before we start dealing with clutter that might be lurking under your bed or in your closet, I want you to clear your floors. Okay? Pick up everything off of the floor that doesn't belong, and maybe you've started to store things around the perimeter of your room. I'm not saying that nothing can be on the floor, but the cleanest looking rooms only have furniture and maybe a few key items that are as large as furniture. For example, right now I am in my office/gym. There's a desk in here. There's a weight machine, there's a treadmill, and there's a very large speaker. So I've kind of given you some examples of items that might need to be stored on the floor, but I encourage you to get your floor picked up. If something is not too large and heavy to move, but maybe it belongs on your floor, at least get that up onto the bed, so that when we go to vacuum, going to get your whole room vacuumed. One of the young commenters wanted an episode about rearranging the bedroom. I'm not going to dedicate a whole episode to that. It's definitely a great idea of something to talk about, and I will talk about it. Sometimes rearranging a room can get you excited about keeping it clean. You know, it becomes fresh and new again. But before you start moving any furniture around, I want you to get the floor cleared and get the room vacuum ready, because you would need to vacuum the exposed areas before moving something. Okay. For example, let's say that you have a desk where you do your homework, or if you're an adult, your work. Okay. Let's say there's a desk in your room and you want to move it to another side of your room and you want to move it to another wall. you're going to need to vacuum first, and then you're going to move that desk to a spot that's already been vacuumed. And then, of course, you're going to pick up any debris that you found behind the desk and vacuum where the desk used to be. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, I want you to get your floor picked up. Anything on the floor that does not belong on the floor, you're going to put that where it goes. It could be dirty clothes that you need to put into a hamper or laundry basket or take to the laundry room. And again, if you're a teenager or preteen, don't burden your parent with a bunch of laundry to wash. You're going to need to wash that laundry after this episode. Maybe your sheets are washing and you're generating a lot of dirty laundry by picking up all the dirty clothes in your room. You can do a load after this, unless someone else in your family just loves doing the laundry. Like maybe your mom, or if you're an adult, your spouse does the laundry and they just want you to get it to the hamper, get it to the laundry room. That may be the system in your family, but my teenagers do their own laundry. And if you don't know how, I encourage you to ask your parent how to use the washing machine, how full to fill it, how much liquid detergent to use, what settings to put the washer on and the dryer on, how to clean the lint filter. These are things you can ask your parent. So you probably have some dirty laundry on the floor. You might be coming across some clothing that you're not sure whether it's clean or dirty. If you can't make a decision, lay that on the bed. Same things with something like, a large Bluetooth speaker. You might want to move that onto the bed if there's not a spot on your desk for that. Obviously, you need a workspace. But if I were cleaning the room that I'm recording in right now, I would move that large Bluetooth speaker onto the desk just to get the floor cleared. And that's because there's not a bed in here, but you can also put things on the bed. Now, what we did in the beginning is what I call cleaning in layers. We were dealing with things in certain categories. We were dealing with the trash. We were dealing with the dirty dishes. And you've probably already picked up the laundry and maybe put your shoes in the closet. But not everything falls into those neat categories. At some point, you need to just systematically go around your room cleaning. There might be tiny items on the floor that need to go into the trash bag that you didn't notice when you were grabbing up the obvious trash. Okay? You might want to just start in one corner of your room and work your way around. If there's a particularly cluttered corner, you might need to sit down to pick up all the items in that corner. Okay? You might also have shelves in your room, but I want you to make sure the floor is cleared first. And then once the floor is cleared, you're going to move up to the upper surfaces. Things like shelves, a desk, nightstands. A lot of teenagers just have one nightstand. You might have one or two nightstands. The top of your dresser. Okay. And you might have other pieces of furniture in your room, like an aquarium stand. Or if you're like my teenage daughter, you might be an artist. You might have an easel. Maybe you need to set that out in the hallway just to clear your floor, and then you can bring that back in. That's, it's something you can't really put on your bed, but you still don't want to always be vacuuming around things. Now, during the maintenance stage, when your room's clean and you're maintaining it over the next few weeks, you might kind of vacuum around stuff, but this is a deep clean. So there might be something you need to temporarily move out into the hall or place on your bed. Okay, the goal is to get your room vacuum ready, and you don't want to break the vacuum. So you've got to get down and pick up little things. Pick up those coins and put them in a jar or piggy bank or a desk drawer, wherever you keep your spare change. You might find an earring on the floor. Okay, that's why you need to get down on the floor and pick up every inch of your carpet or your floor. Get it vacuum ready. Anything larger than a Cheerio should not be vacuumed up. String should not be vacuumed up. These things are going to mess up the vacuum. Now, at this point, you can do one of two things. If you've recently cleaned out your closet and you're not storing anything under your bed or stuffing things under your bed or into the closet, you could do the thing where you vacuum your carpet or sweep your floor and then move the furniture, rearrange the furniture, and repeat that process. And, don't hurt yourself. You might need someone to help you move the furniture. Enlist the help of a sibling or spouse, depending whether you're a teenager or adult. But most of you probably don't need to rearrange your room. Sometimes a bedroom is kind of small and there are not a lot of options as far as the configuration. Let me give you an example. In my bedroom, on one wall, there are two small windows, and the way that they're positioned, it just looks like the bed should be in the middle between those two windows. That's the ideal configuration. Now, someday we might move the bed directly across from the windows, and that might look okay. But one of the reasons I'm not too keen on rearranging the room is that I have a large framed print that is kind of the focal point of the room, and it goes over my headboard. So I would have to completely redecorate if I moved the bed, not to mention how heavy the bed is. So I have the bed kind of in the obvious position that probably the person who designed the house intended to be the wall for the bed. And then, of course, I have a nightstand on either side of the bed. Then it was kind of up to me where to put the TV, but that's kind of in an obvious position, somewhere where we can see it from the bed. And then there's another smaller wall where I have a dresser. And then I have some other pieces of furniture that I'm planning to remove out of my room. I have a small coffee table along one wall. Well, I guess it's just one piece of furniture because the TV stand is staying. One of the dressers serves as a TV stand. But I have a small coffee table that I use to store my knitting supplies on. And I'm planning to move that into my office. I didn't always have an office. I used to have kids in every bedroom, but people are growing up and moving out. And now I have my own office. It's also a gym, but I mainly call it the office. So I think I'm going to keep some of my craft supplies in here so that my room won't be as cluttered. So that's something to think about. If your room's getting cluttered, maybe you need to spread some things out and move them elsewhere in the house. And of course, there might be things that you need to get rid of. But if you're a teenager, you're keeping pretty much all your stuff in your room. I get it. But for those of you who are like me and don't really want to do a lot of rearranging other than maybe getting rid of something, the next step might be to clear any clutter off of your nightstands, your dresser, whatever pieces of furniture you have, your shelves. That might not take very long because you already cleared the trash and the dishes, and I feel like that's the stuff that ends up on nightstands. But maybe there's something on your dresser that needs to go inside a drawer and be stored out of sight. There's something to be said for storing things out of sight. It makes your space look a lot more peaceful, helps relax you when you don't see too many items. But once you've done that, once you've cleared the floor, you've cleared your upper surfaces, if you were going to rearrange furniture, you'd vacuum or sweep, move things, repeat that process. But a lot of you might want to just keep focusing on things like that. But for a lot of us, we need to check for clutter under the bed. Now, I'm no longer at the age where I'm stuffing things under my bed just so I can check that box that I've cleaned my room and go out with my friends. Like, I remember being a teenager and sometimes you kind of cheat when you're cleaning your room. But I still need to pull things out from under my bed because sometimes shoes get kicked under there, or my teenage daughter's dog tends to bring things under the bed. It's like she'll find some piece of trash. She's even been known to pull things out of the trash, but she'll find some piece of trash that has, kind of some food flavor on it, maybe a fast food hamburger wrapper or something, and she'll run under the bed with it when nobody's looking so that she can kind of chew on it without the other dog fighting her for it or whatever. You may not have that problem. That might be just unique to certain dogs. My point is, I don't stuff things under my bed, but I still have to pull things out from under my bed. And if you have a large bed, like it's not just a twin bed that's designed for one person, you might need to grab a broom or something to help you pull things out from under the bed. The only thing that I purposely put under my bed is my laptop. And it's just because I don't want to accidentally step on it and I don't have room for it on my nightstand. I have a tiny nightstand with kind of a large lamp on it. So that's where I put my drink and whatever book I'm reading. So when I'm working on the laptop in bed, I will often just reach down and place it under my bed. That way it doesn't get stepped on. So I feel like that's permissible. And I would definitely keep it on the nightstand if I had a larger nightstand with more space. So now's the time to pull everything out from under your bed. And the good thing about picking up your floor first is it's not going to feel as overwhelming as if you pulled out more clutter into an already messy room. That's why I had you pick up first, because the pile of stuff that you pull out from under your bed is going to be more manageable if you cleaned your room to begin with. Some people probably already abandoned the episode by now, and at least their room is picked up. It's a step. And I don't want you to pull everything out of the closet at the same time you pull everything out from under the bed. You're going to feel overwhelmed. We're doing one thing at a time. We don't want to create a huge mess, while we're cleaning. So while you're putting away the random items that you found under your bed, throwing away the trash, putting the shoes in the closet, putting your books on the bookshelf, whatever needs to be done there, I just wanted to give you a thought. When you're behind and and you have maybe a laundry basket full of clean laundry that you haven't put away, one way to keep that mess from getting more overwhelming is to just kind of live out of that clean laundry basket for a while. Wear those same clothes. And some of you are like, oh, I don't want to wear the same clothes all the time. Well, then put away your clean laundry. Hang it up, put it in the closet, okay? Some of you have some clean laundry that is not put away. And maybe your spouse, if you're an adult, or your mom, if you're a teenager, folds your laundry and then brings your folded piles into your room. The last thing she wants you to do is knock those onto the floor when you're going to bed or something. Because I put my kids' folded laundry on the bed if I come across it. They do their own laundry, but if something of theirs ends up mixed into a load with my stuff, or I just happen to pull their load out of the dryer and fold it, I put those clothes on their bed folded, but I expect them to get put away. If somebody is bringing you your clean laundry folded, you ought to be thanking them and then putting those items away as soon as possible. So maybe you're putting away items that you found under your bed, but also be putting away folded clothes. And sometimes a task like dealing with the clutter that was under your bed can feel overwhelming and you procrastinate on it. But if you just keep putting the items away, pretty soon that pile of junk that you found under your bed is going to get smaller. And I promised that I would help you maintain a clean room in the future. One way you can maintain a clean room is by keeping some things under the bed, like a folded comforter or an empty suitcase. Certain things like that can fill the space to where your shoes and your empty water bottles aren't going to end up under the bed. So that's something to think about. It can also keep the dog from making that their little den. My daughter's little dog sleeps in her room, but she has a little kennel for it and she keeps the door open. So the dog has kind of a comfy little den to go into, but it's not under her bed. For some reason, it likes to go into my room and go under my bed and use that as a den where it chews on trash, but I digress. The next thing I want you to do is deal with any clutter in your closet floor, okay? That might be where you keep your shoes, great, but, like my teenage son, you might have some trash in your closet. At least his was already bagged up, okay? Yours may not be. Let's get rid of that clutter. And some of you are struggling in certain areas due to your hobbies. For example, my teenage daughter is an artist. She has lots of canvases that she paints, and some of them she stacks in her closet. But one of the solutions I came up with is I created a gallery wall in my bedroom and started hanging up some of her paintings. She's already decorated her room with a lot of her paintings, but they're paintings that fit with a certain theme. Other paintings she wants to either keep or sell, she neatly stacks in her closet. But she also utilizes containers for her art supplies so that she can quickly, gather those up. So you might need some boxes or baskets. Maybe you need to ask your parent for a container. But one of the easiest ways to get containers is every time you get new shoes, keep the shoe box. You can be storing paintbrushes in a shoe box, for example, if you're a painter. Or for you, it might be another hobby. Maybe you make jewelry or something. Another thing you can do with shoe boxes, and just be cleaning your closet floor while I talk. But another thing you can do with shoe boxes is use it to organize your drawers. A shoe box placed in a drawer can help you keep your underwear in a separate spot than your socks, for example. And that can make it easier for you to get ready in the morning. Storage containers help you tidy up your room faster, but they also help you find things faster. And as you're cleaning your room, I want you to store like items together. Like, for example, let's put all the paintbrushes in this box. Let's put all the papers in this drawer. Let's put the canvases in this side of the closet. Okay, for example, not all of you are painters, but at least one of you commented that you paint. And I have a daughter who's a painter, so I know that it calls for some organization, whether they're plastic storage containers or boxes. You need a place to keep your paints. If you have younger siblings, or if you're an adult listening and you have young children, obviously you need to keep the paint out of reach of little ones. So, maybe you need a shelf. Maybe you need to ask someone to install a shelf for you if you don't know how to do that, or you're not allowed to do that. I'm definitely a fan of taller dressers rather than the chest of drawers. I like the narrower dresser that's tall because it allows adults and teenagers to store certain things out of the reach of little ones. If there are little ones in your household, you can put things up on that tall dresser. And then, of course, for safety reasons, these type of dressers might need to be anchored to the walls, but watch your kids, folks, if you have little ones. I guess what I'm saying is you store things like paints out of reach, but you also don't want to tempt a little one to try to climb up and get them. So better yet, instead of displaying those items, have them in a box to where little ones don't even see that temptation. They don't see that bright colored acrylic paint bottle. Enough talk about paint and easels. I know it doesn't apply to everybody. I'm definitely not an artist, and neither is my husband, but for some reason, several of our kids are talented artists. I guess we carry a recessive gene for being artistic. And you may need to pause the episode if you have a huge walk-in closet to clean out. I recently cleaned out my walk-in closet. And what was cool is while I was cleaning out that closet, my husband was just generally cleaning the room. So our bedroom's looking good. Our closet's looking good. There's just a tendency to put things on the closet floor. And the bigger your closet, sometimes the more you do that. And just from time to time, you've got to clear that closet floor. The last step of cleaning your room is wiping down surfaces. You need to dust your nightstands, your dresser. You need to wipe out your windowsills. Okay, and your bonus task, should you choose to accept it, is getting some glass cleaner and a microfiber cloth and cleaning the inside of your bedroom window, or windows plural. And I know that technically you're supposed to dust before vacuuming. Okay, but it's not that critical. It's not the end of the world if you vacuum and then dust. The cleaning from top to bottom is super important in the kitchen. Like, you wipe the countertops before you sweep the floor, but just dusting furniture, not a big deal. And by the way, if you're allergic to dust, you can wear a dust mask or an old COVID mask while you're cleaning your room. But it's such a nice finishing touch when you've cleared the clutter off of your nightstand, your desk, other shelves in your room, to dust those surfaces. And if you have a TV, you're also going to want to clean your TV screen. You just need a tiny bit of water on a microfiber cloth. The less water, the better, just slightly dampened. And you're just going to keep rubbing that until it's dry. That's an easy way to get, it clean and free of streaks. And I know I talked about art supplies, but you may have other things. Everyone has different hobbies, and you need a way to organize your things. And maybe you're not into like crafts and you don't really have a lot of little things like that, but maybe you read a lot of books. You need to have a place for things. And sometimes just having an empty laundry basket or some other kind of basket can help you pick up your room in a hurry so that you can vacuum or sweep the floor, and then you can put away those miscellaneous items later. I definitely know of people who keep baskets in every room of their house so that if they have to get the whole house clean on short notice, they're just putting things in baskets. And then they can stick those baskets in a closet. As long as this is not your long-term solution, it can be a quick fix when you need to get your house looking surface level presentable. You just don't want the basket to be the new under the bed or stuffed in the closet. It's a temporary fix. But some containers are more permanent solutions, and they're for organizing small items, small like items. Okay, what if your hobby is doing your nails? You need either a drawer or a basket or some kind of container for your nail supplies. Anyway, get those surfaces dusted and then sweep or vacuum your room. If you have a hard floor, you might also need to mop. But going forward, once your room is clean, you need to maintain a weekly routine of vacuuming, dusting, and washing your bedding. But in between those weekly cleans, because you probably have that one day of the week where you have time to wash your bedding, dust, vacuum your room, especially if it's already clean, if it's already tidy, so to speak, it's already picked up. But daily, you want to do things like putting your clothes away, picking up the floor, whether it's right before bed or first thing in the morning as you're getting ready. Everybody's routine is different. Everybody's schedule is different. But you want to establish a habit of putting things away as you use them. And then in case you forgot to do that at some point, a time of day where you put away anything that you accidentally left out. For example, the ideal if you eat is to take your plate to the kitchen right after you eat. But just in case you got sidetracked and you put that plate on the nightstand and fell asleep, maybe in the morning you give yourself 5 minutes to clear your floor and clear your nightstand and make your bed. Your parent probably wants you to make your bed daily. And by the way, keeping your bed made will help keep you motivated to keep your room picked up. There's just something about it. I call it a springboard task. It instantly makes your room look better, and you kind of take more pride in the appearance of your room. And if you have a job and money or you're an adult, sometimes getting a new set of bedding right after cleaning your room can be a great reward that will help encourage you to keep your room cleaner. And if you're really having a hard time keeping your room clean, you might want to get rid of stuff. Just as you're finishing up, dusting and cleaning your floors, I want to give you some advice about this. If you're a teenager, you can self-purge. You can go through your clothes, maybe one drawer at a time, or, maybe you can put all your clothes on the bed and sort through them, however you want to do it. And then maybe present your mom with a pile of items. These don't fit me anymore, or I don't wear these anymore. She might want to put them somewhere to save them for your younger sibling, or she might want to donate them. If you're an adult, you probably have a donation station in the back of your closet, whether it's a bag or a box where you put clothing that you need to donate. But if you're a teenager, you might want to just bring that stuff to your mom. She might have a friend she wants to donate that stuff to, like, their child's a little smaller than you. Or again, she might want to save it for a younger sibling. Okay, I have a son who's 18 years old, and he's in the Marines now. He'll be 19 soon. So he doesn't live here full time. He just comes here when he's on leave. But throughout junior high, high school, I guess they call it middle school now, middle school, high school, he was bringing me clothing that he had outgrown because he knew that I wanted to put it somewhere to save for his younger brother. And now every year I'm pulling things out for my 13-year-old son, especially because they wear school uniforms and he needs the same uniforms. And some people need another person to push them to purge their wardrobe, but it's such a great skill to learn to self-purge because it's going to keep you from hoarding when you have your own home. And I apologize to you adults. I know that off and on I've talked to you as if you were a teenager during this episode, but like I put in the title, this is for your inner teenager, okay, if you're an adult. I hope you got a lot done. Special thanks to those who are already supporting the show, either on Apple Podcasts, Patreon, Spotify, or some other way. But I understand that not everyone is able to subscribe, especially if you're under 18. Ask your parents before subscribing to bonus content. But even listening to these free episodes helps me, and I appreciate the positive feedback and comments. Be sure to click follow on whichever app you're listening on so that you'll be notified of new episodes. And if you want to go the extra mile and help me out and you're not able to subscribe, please give me a 5-star rating and review wherever you listen, or post a comment letting me know you like this episode. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you maintain this clean streak for a while. Happy cleaning, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.